Welcome to Expedient Means with Lin A. Wei on Time Monk Radio. Lin currently resides in China and is the founder and head teacher of Guaijian Philo-Cultural Society. He has extensive experience in Buddhist and Taoist meditation, Qigong, martial arts, and traditional Chinese medicine. To learn more about Lin, please visit his website at www.guizhenhui.net. This program is dedicated to exploring various facets of these teachings with hopes of making the knowledge more widely accessible. Thank you for joining us. All right, so today we're going to be discussing the concept of merit and virtue. You want to start with that, Lynn?
Oh, merit and virtue. Well, this goes. This is a topic that goes to every single mannerism of practice. The idea of merit and virtue, specifically in Buddhist cultivation, people hear it and they think, oh well, you just have to do good things and have that good energy around you, and there you go. Actually, it gets very deep. Merit and virtue, it can become very confusing to what is merit and virtue. Well, let's bring it to something very basic. Let's say you are a Boy Scout and you succeed at what you're doing, right? Maybe it's rubbing sticks together to make a fire or whatever it is that Boy Scouts do, to live in the woods, and show that they have skill. Then they get something called a merit badge. That merit badge says they accomplished something, so they have the means to do this. Okay, so that's like merit generally. You've cultivated, you've practiced certain things, and then you have that kind of energy around you that says, that gives people that feeling that, you have accomplishment. You have succeeded at something. So it makes them feel somewhat good. But then there's you go ahead.
I was just going to say, so what's the difference between merit and karma, positive karma?
Aha. You can have merit. Check this out. You can have merit in the good practices and merit in the bad practices. You can do the wholesome things and create a merit in the wholesome mannerisms to attract other wholesome things to you, or you can have merit in the bad practices that attract the negative things to you. You can do good things that bring in good karma, and you can do bad things that bring in bad karma. The only difference is karma is the inevitable outcome of the things you've caused. Merit is the outcome from the things you have applied yourself in.
Okay. So what's the difference between virtue and merit?
Okay. Merit is what you accrue over time from doing something to its completion. It's like you start a project, stopping in between, you get lazy, you put it off, and then finally after some time you get back to it, right? So it's just done halfway. Then let's say you present this thing to a group of people, and though you had a good idea, you really didn't apply yourself full-heartedly. You took your time, very procrastinated. So it didn't receive like that grand welcome, that people didn't go, wow, this is something great. They're like, oh, okay, that's good. It wasn't accepted with substance, as something with substance. On the other hand, though, you put all your efforts into something you're doing. You complete it without laziness. You're not procrastinating. You don't break it apart with false views. You're not thinking nonsense in between. You're just going straight to get whatever it is you want to get done. It's finished. You throw it in front of people's faces. You present it out, and people accept it. They're like, oh, this is good, because you wholeheartedly gave yourself to it. You didn't procrastinate. You didn't stop in between. Okay? So it's accrued from putting in your sincerity. So merit is that buildup of energy that is from putting in your sincerity into it.
Okay? In Taoism, you tend to hear the concept of virtue more, and in Buddhism, you tend to hear the concept of merit a little bit more. Is there a reason for that?
I don't know. All I can tell you is if you have merit, you have completed something, you have fulfilled, fulfillment, something is filled. Then you can walk with your head up, your energy straight, your energy is good, it's full, it's wide, it's big. People will believe you. People will feel safe with you. Okay, people say this person walks with completion. That's virtue.
Okay.
Uh, I'm not sure why the Taoists focus more on one specific thing and the Buddhists focus more on the other, but basically in Buddhism, it's merit and virtue are hand in hand. Okay.
So how do you go about accumulating merit?
Ah, very good. Well, let's make sure we understand this. Merit is a substance that comes from the act of being virtuous. Virtue is a substance that strengthens merit when it is accrued. So how do we how do we practice doing meritorious things? Well, on the superficial level, we're doing ordinary good things. Okay, do good deeds, you get good outcomes. It's good karma. It's attracting good situations to you. It feeds in the positive karma bag. The bag full of positive karma. That's the superficial things. But you go deeper. You're changing the way you think, changing the way you act, changing the way you speak. Thinking goes into what you feel and what you view the world as and view things as. Okay, and then speaking and action, it's very easy to understand those, so I don't have to explain them. So we go deeper, and then we have that fulfillment. We have a substance. Okay, and that is our merit and virtue. We accrue them. When you go deeper in cultivation, it's, we have practices like reading a sutra. It's a very meritorious and virtuous thing. Why? Because not many people want to sit and read a sutra. And not many people can sit and read a sutra wholeheartedly without thinking of they're going to grab their next cup of coffee, or about what they're going to do when they're done. So when you're applying yourself sincerely, you're not thinking of other things. That builds up substance. That builds up strength. We'll call that merit and virtue.
In Buddhism, a lot of times you hear people recite a sutra and then at the end they'll say that they're going to transfer the merit. How can you how does that work? Why would you want to, first of all? And secondly, can you transfer merit to someone that doesn't even really deserve it?
Wonderful. I love this. This is so good. This is the total practice of selflessness. When I give you an example, there's a practice in Buddhism, right? You just said it, called it action or the practice of transferring merit. When you read a sutra or you read a mantra and you go, I transfer the merit and virtue to all living beings of the 10 directions, may they attain great wisdom and leave the cycle of birth and death, be reborn in whatever pure land according to their affinities. Okay. Easier said than done, right? Well, no, actually, you're giving them, you're sending them all the good stuff that you just attained from reading the sutra. It doesn't mean you're sending them the wisdom of reading the sutra, because you can't do that, or the Buddhas would have did that already, and we'd all be, hopping around as a Buddhist, as fully realized beings. So that doesn't happen. But you can kind of like supercharge. We'll call it like a supercharge of somebody, supercharging their energy, their mind, or helping to nourish their good roots, that one day they will attain the capacity to understand and then realize their wisdom, have some type of attainment of that inherent wisdom, realization of that wisdom. How does that actually happen? Well, when we think good thoughts about people, usually they feel good. Or when you're in your home and you feel sluggish, you're not feeling good, you're feeling a little moody, people walk in the room and they can feel that even without looking at you. It's mind to mind transference. I'm sending my good thoughts to this next person, but I want to give them what I got. But that giving also creates merit, and the act of giving is virtuous.
So it just kind of goes round. So basically, the more you give, the more you get.
The actual thought that you're giving to others to uplift them, to make them feel better, to make them have less suffering or less attaching, so they don't have to go through the nonsense or the problems that they go through. Okay, that's such a good thing. So you're giving it to them. But in truth, we're not giving to anyone because the idea that there is others is also a falsity. So we're using a falsity to eradicate a falsity. And we also accrue more merit and virtue along the way as well.
Um, I was just going to say, Lynn, that brings to mind the quote I've been ending the show with from the final chapter of the Tao Te Ching, that the more he gives to others, the more he gains. So it's along the same lines.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's just basically saying that there is no such thing as separation. What I give is what I get because I'm basically, or we are all basically, no different from each other, or no separate from each other. We are not separate. So the sage realizes that, okay, and lives his life or her life as that, as the embodiment of the non-separation. But it doesn't mean I'm giving all my money to somebody. It has nothing to do with money or material things. It has to do with that great feeling of compassion, giving people the state of fearlessness so they can be at ease. Hmm.
Yeah, I'm almost ashamed to admit it, but a couple times when we were cultivating, and then it's like, you do all this work, and then you're like transferring the merit. A part of me almost said, "Geez, this is crazy. You just did all this work, and it feels like you're giving away all your merit." Like,
Yeah.
this
You
is
said
nuts.
something very, yeah, it's nonsense, right? You said something interesting before, is giving it to people who don't deserve it. Just because people do things that we believe is not very good, you know, doesn't mean what they're doing is wrong. There's a dichotomy. You see, there is overall an understanding of what is wholesome and what is not wholesome. And the doing of unwholesome things creates unwholesome outcomes, and doing of wholesome things creates wholesome outcomes. When people do negative things, I mean, I had my experience in this lifetime so far of having crazy, crazy things done to me. Uh, but still, in the transferring of merit and virtue, it is still going to them so they can realize that things they do is not very good. Hopefully they attain a realization they can change. So it's always put into that aspect. Nobody deserves everything and nobody deserves nothing. There's no such thing as such. The karma itself, or the way relativity works in this universe, is very simple. There's no mercy. What you give is what you get. But sometimes we want to give to people who we believe don't deserve it, or people who do negative things to others, or even ourselves. We do it so they can stop. Usually they won't stop in this lifetime, but maybe some other lifetime, sometime down the road, what we've offered to them may help them to see the truth or help them to realize what they've done or just help them to realize some wisdom.
Yeah, it's
you know
almost like if you're in a room with a bunch of crazy people and you can kind of give them a little bit of your wisdom to elevate them. It's in the end, it's going to make your life more comfortable.
in the end, it'll make a lot of people more comfortable.
Yeah, true.
But yes, definitely it's basically like that. So the whole practice of merit and virtue is basically saying, I care about all these people out there, whether I've known them or not, and I want them to be uplifted. I want them to be in peace. I don't want them to hurt themselves or others any longer. Hopefully they have the capacity to accept this merit and virtue, and it's used, because they have the capacity to accept it, it's taken to change their lives. We have a practice called, sending to all living beings of the 10 directions, all various living beings. And that term, it doesn't get explained too much publicly or constantly. Various living beings means everything and anything that has a conscious mind. It can be a fly, a mosquito, roaches, any physical being that we know of on this planet, any physical being that we don't know of in any other planet, ghosts, spirits, demons, gods, angels, whatever we want to call them, okay, even Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. Why would you have to give them? Because they're already complete. It's just the act of giving, offering, which creates more strength or stronger virtue. Ah, so this various living beings idea, it doesn't have to be believed in to actually be there. We don't need to be in the forest when a tree falls so we can hear it and say a tree fell. It's going to fall regardless. We don't have to be there to prove it. It's just going to be that way. So all these living beings is everything and anything, whether it's the formless realm, okay, whether it's the realm of taking others' blessings, the heaven of transforming others' blessings, any living being in the hell realms, the heavenly realms, okay, anywhere in between the ghost realms or whatnot. It could be dragons, it could be anything. That's what various living beings means.
Maybe this is false thinking, but I'll admit it. I'll go on the record. When I first heard the term transferring merit to all the living beings, I was kind of picturing it like you got $1 worth of merit, and you divide that up into 1 billion. You're not really giving anybody much of anything. Now, I suspect that that's probably false thinking, and I just wondering what you'd like to say with that.
I like what you're saying. If you're really thirsty, I mean, you're parched, man. You've been walking through the desert. You're thirsty as hell. And someone goes to offer you water, but all they have is literally 1 drop of water. Are you going to drink it, or are you going to say, no, it's not enough for me?
I think I'd probably drink it anyway.
Exactly. And that little drop of water would mean so much to you. It would nourish, even though it didn't nourish your whole body, it would still give you some sense of satisfaction, some sense of ease that says, oh, if there was 1 little drop of water, but thankfully I had that water. Think of what that does to someone who's in the hell realms, who's suffering every single moment of every single breath in between, no thought, no time to think, no time to contemplate anything that can create some type of merit for them to jump out. And all of a sudden, they get a cool shower, a cool breeze of merit and virtue. And it stops their suffering for like 3 seconds.
Yeah.
Would they take it, or would they leave it?
Oh yeah, they would definitely.
Oh yeah. If their tongue is being ripped up and their eyes are being poked at, and they're undergoing their own accumulation of negative karma, and it manifests in that way. It's not that that's just the way it is because the Buddha said it. It's just the way it is because we accumulate and we manifest based on that accumulation. So they'll take it. Yeah, you're damn right they'll take it. Any time to just feel some type of comfort, they'll jump on it. That's what our merit and virtue in the transference practice does.
And also every little drop eventually over time is going to fill the cup, right?
Oh yeah, what's the ocean but a whole bunch of drops of water?
True.
Practices are numerous. Reciting a sutra, reciting a mantra, doing anything good, even if you're not practicing reciting sutras, mantras, anything nice and happy and good. Today I helped an old lady cross the street. Maybe if you didn't, maybe she would have made it across the street, no problem. Maybe the ground would have broke and sucked her up. Maybe 2 trucks would have squashed her in between. Maybe she would have sprained her ankle. Who knows?
What if?
But then,
carry on. No, okay. Well, okay. I was I always wax philosophical sometimes, but what if you think you're doing something virtuous, and that virtuous act helps somebody do something not so virtuous?
Beautiful. Compassion with no wisdom. You have the compassionate heart, but you have no wisdom to see the conditions within other beings to deserve it. This is where deserving comes. You see someone in the street who's very hungry, very thirsty. You can tell they're telling you the truth. They ask you for $1, they ask you for some money, and you give it to them, and they actually run out and go get food. You did a good deed. Then you see another person who's asking the same thing. You're like, oh, this is great. Okay, good. Here's another $5. And they go out and get a bottle of, cheap liquor. And they're killing the bottle on the corner going, thanks, man. That was great. You enabled them to hurt themselves and cause other people to have more false thinking about if they're actually going to help others who seem to need it or not. People will never be sure anymore. It's called wisdom and compassion. So we really need to understand. So if we're going to be confused of if I do this, what's going to happen, then don't do anything at all. But if you can see on the superficial level someone who needs help and you help them out, then do it. if you have the capacity to.
What if your
And you,
intentions are wholesome though? Like I would think that your intentions would count for a lot.
there's no mercy in karma. Your intent. We have a saying in Chinese and English. It's translated as, "You have a good heart doing wrong things." Your intention, basically, your intentions may be good, but you ended up doing something wrong. There was a situation. I had this situation in one of the schools I was teaching in last year, and someone brought in newspapers, and I didn't see the name that these newspapers should have been sent to. It was someone in my office. I had an office of about 9 or 10 other teachers. So they put the newspapers on my desk, and they were all the same newspapers. So I figured, let me do something nice instead of leaving it there till someone takes it away. I'll put the newspapers on everyone's desk. So as I'm doing it, one of the teachers looks at me and she says, "Oh, those newspapers are for this teacher." I said, "Oh, I thought they were for everybody because they're all the same stuff, you know? I just want to hand it out for everybody and, save everyone the trouble of doing it later." He says, "Ah, that's good intentions causing bad problems." That teacher's go, "Where's all my newspapers?" And be upset.
Yeah.
So if I would have actually took time to look at the newspaper and seen the name written on it, maybe it would have been something. I would have just said, "Where's this person?" and put it all on the desk and save everybody else the trouble later.
That makes
Uh,
me, I was just going to say, that makes me almost think of a good example would be 9/11, right? When you see all the people that were good people and they rushed to enlist in the military to, defend the country. And then
mm,
you see them 10 years later and they're all depressed and suicidal and alcoholics because they realized, or maybe they didn't even realize, but they ended up going over to, Iraq and Afghanistan and committing these horrible atrocities.
yeah, that's very big unfortunate example. you know, usually our wars now have been for tens of years, or probably longer, have been just for the pockets of those in corporations. So it's unfortunate that those soldiers got to do that. I mean, being a soldier generally is really seen as a good thing. That's a very meritorious and virtuous thing. You're providing the safety or the fearlessness for other people. You're letting people feel safe, and you're giving your life for them, and you don't even know them. For a very meritorious, virtuous reason, without anything underneath it. You know. Unfortunately, it doesn't happen in our times, and we're told specific other stories. So our good intentions come back to bite us in the butt. You know,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
I use that example just because I've just recently seen a news clip about a young American soldier that got, wrapped up in this illegal killing where a U.S. helicopter shot up a bunch of kids, and this guy, had to go pull these kids out of the van, and it devastated him, and you can just feel the pain in this guy's words, and it's horrible because you can tell he's probably a good guy, and you can tell he was probably over there for the right reasons, and yeah, originally, or what he thought was the right reasons.
Mm-hmm. Pretty much. So yeah, you've got to be very mindful of our actions uh, to create good outcomes. Other practices of merit, you see in Buddhist practices go into a bowing. Like, how does bowing develop good merit and virtue? It's not that you're bowing to the Buddha. That's like the Buddha is going to bestow merit and virtue on you. If you could do that, everyone will have merit and virtue in them, and we'll all become realized Buddhas right away. It's the application of our mind, our sincerity of our mind, that creates merit and virtue. When you are not having false thinking, your energy is more completed, meaning you're not wasting your energy. It's not jumping over to this music, to this song, or that video, or that movie, or that woman, or that man. It's not going to the lustful feelings, or the wanting feelings, or the greed, anger, and ignorance that we're feeling or we experience. There's no outflows, so our energy gets full. That's merit and virtue, full energy, non-wasted energy, non-attachment to the things we experience, not wasting your essence. Basically, it was put in the quote-unquote Taoist method. Don't waste your essence.
So if one doesn't have discrimination, are they better off not even trying?
Ha 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 ha. It's not that one doesn't have discrimination, one can have wise discrimination. They know the difference between what is and what actually doesn't need to be.
Well, I would still think you're better off trying, even
Hmm.
if you weren't 100% sure you were doing the right thing.
That's why it's always good to cultivate um, wisdom, cultivate meditation. So you end up getting that inherent feel that says, "Oh, this is good." And sometimes it could be wrong only because we have our own little issues in our mind. For me, I personally uh, don't go out much. you know, I stay home with my family. I do my writing in my office. Uh, when I have the chance and the baby's sleeping, I do my practices. But throughout the day, I'm doing other types of practices. So I got to maintain things. But I hardly go out. But when I do, and I see someone's bicycle flipped over, because of the wind, pushed it over, I usually just put it back up. But if I know the wind's going to push it back down, like if I know that it's kind of windy today, I'm just going to leave it on the floor. Because if it falls down again, it may break. And then it's my fault. you know? Today, I went to buy vegetables. The woman had umbrellas over her vegetable stand, two umbrellas. I was standing under one of them, and that one falls down. And I was almost standing under it, and there was a guy driving in his little moped, and it falls right in front of him, and he hits the umbrella. It doesn't break anything. So I'm standing right there. I pick it up and I adjust it. And then as I adjust it, and the woman runs out to fix her umbrella, her other umbrella falls down on some other dude selling vegetables behind her. So he adjusts her umbrella for her. But I adjusted her first the first umbrella that fell, and I put it back where it was. But she picked it up and she put it even further in so it don't fall down again. Basically saying I went to do that thing, and then she just adjusted it, and which is good because where I put it, it may have fallen again on somebody else. Uh, so we always concede to the extent we can only see to the extent of what we can do, given specific conditions or situations.
A lot of people don't really think of it this way, but when you do cultivate virtue and merit, you're also cultivating your internals. You're also cultivating your heart center. I just wonder if you could elaborate on that a bit.
Yes, yes, yes. When you're cultivating this merit and virtue, or basically cultivating the selfless acts, okay, or utilizing the non-discriminating mind, or basically not giving into false thinking, your energy is full, and you start to realize that there is a very humane aspect in your cultivation. That humane aspect in the cultivation is mostly generated out of that heart chakra, the heart center. Okay. In this heart center, it's always that feeling of interconnectedness between all living things. So there's this overall compassion, overall mercy feeling, overall sympathy, sympathetic feeling, overall state that says there's no difference between you and me. You know, that adds more substance. When you're practicing and cultivating this state, it creates more substance for you, makes your energy stronger, fuller, you know.
Would it, I mean, that would be like your center Danchen, but would it also affect your upper and lower Danchen, or?
When your energy is full, it reaches everything. It influences every single working in your body. And remember, this talk and all that we can do at this point is really a focus on the ideals of this type of practice. You know, going into straight up methods is not a whole other animal in and of itself. It just means that we have to go very deep into specific practices to hone in this specific substance. We want to get further. But if you're just cultivating, you will get everything else that you're supposed to, that you will get if you focus specifically. You know, so basically, what I'm saying is, just doing that practice alone nourishes everything else in the energetic physical body.
Yeah, it's It's like I mean, all the religious traditions have their saints too, and a lot of times these saints do take, I guess you could call it the path of the heart or the path of compassion. And they've developed spiritually. I guess it's sort of a different route to the same goal.
Mm. All after the same goal, basically. Just people mess things up here and there, you know? They put more quote unquote guidelines and more rules on specific things, which is not bad. It's just sometimes a little too excessive. Basically, doing good deeds with wisdom. It's always better than doing deeds just because they're good to do. You really want to be able to have a wise understanding of what it is you're going to be doing and its outcomes. You see, we have a saying in Buddhist practice, or in cultivation practice, that an ordinary being, basically one who has not realized that inherent wisdom, we'll just call him ordinary, just for the sake of saying so. An ordinary being worries about the outcomes, but a bodhisattva or a sage or someone who has realized some type of wisdom worries about the causes. So if you're planning to do a good thing, understand what is the cause for you to be doing such things. Do you have affinities with the people you're going to be doing things to? Overall, make sure you cover all corners. I had one situation many years ago. I think I was around 22 years old, 21 years old. I was on a train late at night. I said this story once before, and there's some people fighting, and I wanted to stop the fight. I walk over, put my hand on the person, try and influence him not to fight. So he stopped fighting, and he looked at me, and I said, "Stop! I'm trying to talk him out of fighting and whatnot." Then I go back. Then they start fighting again. I go back and do the same thing. They stop. I go back to my seat. Then they start fighting again. I go back. Obviously, I wasn't successful the first 2 times, 3 times. Finally, it stopped. How did it stop? I had to explain to them everything that you're doing is fruitless. This guy, you want to steal something from him, he's beating you up. You don't get the idea that you're not going to succeed. You have a knife, but he's still beating you up. So you obviously have no skill, meaning you don't have the means to get what you want from this guy. Your greed and your ignorance is making you angry, and your anger is making you more ignorant, and that makes you more greedy. They finally stopped. The guy who was doing the beating up, I had to let him realize, stop hitting this guy. Why don't you just get off the goddamn train? I mean, really, throw him across the room, throw him across the train, give yourself a few seconds to get your stuff and leave. Because he can't get what he wants from you. Yeah. But you have the ability to destroy this guy. So really think about this. You can fight him, you can stop him, but you just keep letting the situation happen. You have a problem, and so does that dude. So either you both stop, or one of you run away, or one of you go to jail. I mean, it's really simple, man. And they finally stopped, shook hands, said they're sorry, and then that was the end of it. The other dude tried to come to me, but talked him out of it. So anyway, you see, you got to cover all corners when you're doing something. Eventually, it may give you a good outcome. But if it doesn't give you a good outcome, you also have to be responsible enough to accept that type of situation too. That's also meritorious. If I do something to help someone and then it turns out to be a negative thing, I have to take responsibility for that and go up and say, "I'm sorry, I thought it was this way. What can I do to make it better?" If there's nothing I can do to make it better, then I can only tell you I truly apologize. You got to be able to accept that and humble yourself down to what you've done. That itself is meritorious. That builds up virtue. And people will believe in you. Not that you need people to believe in you, but just people, will feel comfortable and say, this person, though, they did something wrong, their intentions were good, they did something wrong anyway by accident or just, because that's the way it was. And, but they still tried to fix the situation and they still admitted they're wrong. They're not afraid to admit their mistakes. People like that kind of person, truthfully.
What if somebody were to say, they practice Qigong 2 and 3 hours a day, and then the rest of the day they went around and acted like a complete jackass? Would
We
they
call that
be a net negative, or would it?
It wouldn't help them one bit. We call that going the fiery path, and letting the demons enter, or in Chinese, 走火入魔, which is going with fire and entering the demons. You're practicing cultivation practice, and then you're going out doing stupid things. Your essence is being defiled. Your energy is being defiled. I mean, you're opening your mind in qigong practice or in any type of cultivation practice. So when you're doing things that are not wholesome, you're really filling your whole entire vibrational field with that type of energy, because it's all connected. Whatever you do to other people, energetically, that field builds up with you, and you put out that kind of energy, and you attract that kind of negativity.
That must be why so many traditions really, really emphasize if you're going to do these practices, you would also better practice virtue and merit.
Oh yeah, definitely, definitely. It's a whole change of one's attitude, change of one's behavior and outlooks, their worldviews, basically. If you don't change those fundamental things, it's going to be very difficult to proceed later on. Very difficult to proceed later on.
So, are there any ways that people can accumulate merit or virtue that they just don't think about? I mean, yeah, there's transferring merit after you recite mantras. There's helping old ladies cross the street. What other practices would you suggest? Because it's hard to find an old lady when you really want to help one cross the street. You got to really look sometimes.
Well, in general, we'll speak not in the sense of a Buddhist cultivation, what is known as Buddhist cultivation. We'll speak general. Whatever you do that you know is good for people, okay? Don't wear it on your shoulder. Don't put it as a badge on your chest saying, I've done great things, I'm a wonderful person. Because just the being famous, just the act of being known for the good things you've done diminishes your merit and virtue. It just makes you be a poster boy for what you do. It kind of makes people look at you and makes you it puts out that energy that you're just very feeble, you're not important. You're just out for fame and fortune, whatever the case is, to be known, General good things. What can you do? Just be nice. Control your attitude. Talk well with people. Be patient in your speech. Try to limit your what's the word? Bad words. People like to curse when they talk. Just generally, F this and F that, and this is effing great, and the F word becomes part of their normal language for good and bad. Like, what do you want for dinner? I want the effing chicken. Last time you made it was effing good. Even though you're not meaning it in an aggressive manner, the vibration of that language, okay, attracts density. So it just that we call that the karma of the mouth. Okay. It's just bad mouth karma, man. So it's adjusting or correcting your speech, the way you speech, adjusting your behavior, how you act, adjusting your actions, what you do with your body and what you think with your mind. That itself builds up a field, a positive field, if you can change it.
I guess too, if people are trying to accumulate merit or trying to accumulate virtue, you just want to keep away from ego, or try and keep your ego out of it as much as possible. I know, like you said in that example earlier, doing a good deed so that everybody can see you do it almost brings to mind, a lot of these Hollywood actors that, drive around, act like idiots, and then they go on some cause celebre on TV just to kind of make everybody look at them and say, wow, they're doing something good, when in fact they're just doing it for their ego.
Yeah. It's very hard to be a quote unquote famous person and actually want to do a good deed, because you're always going to be out in the limelight. People always going to take a picture. Oh, this person, this actor gave $5 million to this foundation. That actor may have really wanted to do that and do it for all the good reasons, but they became known for it, and everyone praises them for it. But if in their heart they are really true to what their cause is, or to that cause, they'll be okay. You know, if they're just saying empty words, it's not good.
Yeah, that sort of makes me think of Brad Pitt, when the flood hit New Orleans, and he kind of went down there, and he himself started building all these houses with his own hands, and he wasn't really doing it for any type of attention. I mean, he did get a lot of attention just because, hey, look, Brad Pitt, famous guy's doing this, but I really think he was doing it for selfless reasons.
Mm.
But a lot of times it's not that way.
A lot of times it's not. Um, you can't really judge at that point. It's really, no point in judging. This person does it just for fame and fortune. Okay, well, if this person is doing it for fame and fortune or doing it just to be known, what the hell am I doing? This person's building houses with his hands, not really caring. But how do I know he's not really caring? If this person's building his hands in a, in a very terrible place, well, why don't I just go into that too? If he can do that, why don't I do that? What's stopping me from doing that? I mean, so you see people doing good things, they get into the media, and everyone's like, oh, praising this person, oh, how great they are. And we can complain this person does this for money, and this person does this for fame and media hype and all that stuff. But then what are we doing? They may be doing it for media hype, but those people they're doing it for, the foundation they gave money to, or the people they're building houses for, they're getting a house. So that foundation is getting 5 million, probably can still feed some of those orphans or whatnot. I have $5 I didn't want to give to the stranger in the street who was begging me to give him money for food. So it goes back and forth. It's really just unimportant to discriminate on what other people do. Instead, reflect it back on us. If we have the means to do it, okay, stop complaining. Go out and do some action. If we don't have the means to do it, stop complaining because we have no means to do it at all. And that itself is good.
All right.
You know?
Yeah. So I guess we're kind of dancing around the subject. Did
We
you have?
are. I mean,
It's
yeah, I have.
again, we could go on forever and give
We
examples.
can.
Um,
We can give examples. And, sometimes examples are good, especially in this, because the practices of merit of virtue can be covered with a whole bunch of religious hype. You have to be a good person. You have to do this, and people just get turned off by it. Really, the best way, like we just talked about before, just change your own person. Change your own personality. If how you are is not an uplifting way for other people, and this time live for other people. Doesn't mean you have to live to make money to give to other people. Live for other people. Be an example that other people can say there is good in the world. That itself is enough. You don't have to be Buddhist, Christian, or any other type of religion to practice it. You just got to be a human being.
and
That's it.
and that's almost contagious too.
Yeah, yeah. When
And
you're good, and let's say you're just that kind of good, uplifting, positive person. You have that wonderful happiness to you, and you go to a place that you just have no clue where you are. Basically, you go to visit a new place. People around that place can feel the kind of person you are. Now you're gonna have idiots who want to try to rob you and try to steal you because you steal things from you because you're a nice person. Oh, like this guy, all sweet and happy. Take my taxi. I'll take you where you got to go. And that person drives around like 5 times before they actually get to their destination. When they could have got there in 5 minutes, they get there in a half hour and try to get more money from you. That's kind of being a little doofy. You go to a place, you got to really understand where you are. It's important to know where you go so you don't get taken for an idiot. you know but you'll find people, if you just give out that vibration of goodness, that wonderful creamy goodness, you'll find people who can resonate with you, and you'll be looked after because they can feel that your genuineness can be felt
yeah,
because you're just a general good person.
well, no, just a quick example. I remember when I was with you in Brooklyn, and we were going down to the subway, and there was a long series of stairs, and this old lady was there with a walker. And I was totally oblivious to her, but you stopped and you kind of picked up her walker and helped her down the stairs, and her face lit up. It was like you made her day. And that stuck with me. It was like just, stuck with me to
Wow.
think maybe I should be more mindful, right? So your example kind of lit a bit of a light in me.
Wow. I totally forgot about that. I thought you were going to say the woman thought I was going to steal her walker and she beat me with her handbag.
That would have stuck with me as well, I think.
That would have been probably a very good story to tell your friends later. Um, but but anyway, I guess if that was an influence for you. Well, you see, mindfulness is very important, especially around you. And you got to think where you go, the people around you you meet have needs too. You know, you want to make sure you're safe. They want to make sure they're safe. But if you can make them feel safe, they will not make you feel unsafe. So it's give and take. So, you know, this whole aspect is without religious dogma, because I never learned Buddhism with dogma. I learned it as function, and that's it. This is the function. This is what you do, and there you go. So the function of this merit and virtue, you don't need to be any type of religion. Just got to be human, like we said before. Just change your attitude, your outlook, and be that example of what you want to experience for yourself. If you want to experience people stabbing you in the back, be an idiot. And if people do that to you already, then find out where in the past have you done things that maybe not equal the kind of thing you're getting now, but just what things have you done that were not so great for other people around you? Family, friends, animals, whatnot. It comes back. It does. And we attract these things to us all the time.
Sort of be the change you want to see in the world, so to speak,
Yep.
right?
Yep. Yeah.
Okay.
What was that? Gandhi said that, right?
Yes, yes.
Yep.
I believe I read that quote somewhere on somebody's
I
email or something.
I read it on a tea bag.
Really? So you get all your
Yes.
wisdom from tea bags and fortune cookies, I
Tea
take it.
bags and fortune cookies. That's right. Famous fortune cookie. If you go to sleep with an itchy butt, you wake up with a smelly finger.
Bad. All right, do you have any
Uh,
closing thoughts before we wrap it up, Lynn?
well, closing thoughts. Yeah. Basically, um, just summing up everything here. In general mannerism, be a good person, change your views. Everything is good to go from there. Um, in the aspect of being following the Buddhist cultivation mannerisms, everything you do that has your practice in bowing, reciting, anything, reciting, reading, writing, okay, walking, lying, sitting, and standing within the Buddhist cultivation school, all that accrues merit and virtue. All that can be transferred to any single living being, specific or general, whether you know them, you remember them, or just in case you forgot you may have done something in some other past lifetime to somebody you don't remember, it can be transferred to that because of that intention, because of that will. And it can help to change things. And it does. It does make a difference in all those lives, and especially your own. When it comes to various living beings, you don't need to believe in them to be true. It is just the way it is. We don't know each other. People hear my voice. They never seen me, never knew me, never knew I existed until they heard about this type of show. And then all of a sudden they know about me. But because they didn't know about me, we're still doing the show. Ah. So it's just the way it is. Things are just the way they are. So there you go.
All right.
Enjoy.
I'll try to be a better person, Lynn.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Well, thanks again for joining us, and thank everybody
Thank you.
and thanks to our listeners for listening to Expedient Means with Lynn Away on Time Monk Radio. Please be sure to join us next week as we investigate common misconceptions of spirituality. And as always, to quote the final chapter of the Tao Te Ching, the sage does not accumulate. The more he assists others, the more he possesses. The more he gives to others, the more he gains.